All right, so people are still joining, but yeah, I think it's will not waste more time. We'll start. If you are able to see my screen, so I'll quickly do an recap of introduction session that we had last time. So what we are learning, I mean, this is the roadmap, for our training, and what we are learning in this training program is only this data visualization using Excel, okay, and in which we will be covering some basic and advanced topic of Excel, but these topics are only pertaining dashboarding techniques. I'm not covering in uh, and all major topics of Excel, but only the ones which are related, and it's I feel that are must for developing reporting and analytics skill set. Okay, so the topics that we are going to cover is this. I think we were not able to cover much, because most of the time went in introduction, and I feel it is important to know, what we are going to learn and what we are going to achieve. Hence, I kept a 1 hour long introduction session. So we were able to cover these two part and start with um, some more basic topics, and then we'll gradually move to the some advanced topic like slicer, creating calculated fields, nested if. Okay, let's see. Okay. So yeah. So once, as I mentioned, once we complete this session, there will be an assessment, and once you score more than 80%, you get qualified to attend the rest of the training program, which is the name of the program is Transition into Analytics, and it's going to be a 3 months long program. And there will be around say 12 to 13 sessions. You all admit. Okay, let's start with the training. Okay. So in last session we started with data validation. We saw what is the use of data validation and how to create a dependent data validation, that is covered. And if the people who missed this can uh, see my recording, I mean it is I have shared my recording on the group. You can always go back and learn if you have missed something. Okay. So we'll start with some text formulas. So in the last session, we also covered some basic text formulas like left, right, mid, all those things. So we'll start with some more basic formulas. Let's say this is the raw data. Okay, this is the raw data that we are going to use throughout in our sessions. In a session, and this data is basically it's a dummy data that comes with Tableau. Like when you install Tableau in your laptop or your desktop, they provide you some sample data set to play along to learn, uh, basically to learn Tableau. So we are going to use this data set, and this is basically a superstore data. I mean the daily order data, it has shipment information, it has product, it has customer hierarchy and the product hierarchy. So this is what we are going to learn. I mean we are going to use this data set for most of our learning. Okay. Now let's say this data set has different dates. Okay, we have order date, we have ship date. Okay, now in your reporting that you're doing, you want to create a monthly trend, but you see that there is no month ka field here. There is no year and month ka field here, and you want to generate a month field using one of the date. So what you will do, there is a formula. Okay, so I'll name this as month. Use text formula. I want to create month field using order date. Okay, so I'll select an order date, and I'll give the format as MMM. If you give 3 times, it will give you an abbreviation of month. Okay. Now it is giving me month. I'll just simply drag it to my. So very simple again, very handy formula. All these, I mean, formulas will come handy when you want to clean the data. When the data that you are dealing with is not, clean, and you need to make some you want to apply some data cleaning techniques to get the desired data which is compatible with your reporting structure. And if you use 4 times m, it gives you the whole month. Likewise, we have uh, today formula. If you want today's date, in some cases you may need to you know find the difference of days compared to today. To use today formula, it will give you today's date. Okay, there is one more formula which is called now, gives you today's date plus uh, the time. Okay, these are the small formulas which I wanted to cover, because I think these are some important. These are very simple formulas, but this comes very handy when you are cleaning the data for your reporting requirement. Okay, so we saw a conditional formatting example. Okay, last time we saw how to do apply conditional formatting on a string value. Okay, so we took this example of a small operation data wherein someone is working on the orders, and once he completes it, he need to mark it as completed using data validation, and then we also need to apply conditional formatting based on the task is completed, not started, or in process. Okay, so now we will see how to apply conditional formatting on numeric numbers. Okay, let's say if you want to, the scenario here is if you want to apply. So this is a small data set. Okay, suppose if the profit is sale greater than 1,000, you want to apply as green. Okay, if the profit is say between certain number between 1,200 and 1,500, then it should be yellow, and less than 1,200 it should be amber. All right, let's see how to do that. All right, so you this conditional formula option is available under home tab. You click on conditional formatting, highlight rules, you get all these options, and there are a lot of options to play along. What we are covering is just the important things, but there are a lot of other options available, like you can also use icons. So these are generally used when you are doing a KPI reporting, when you are uh, when you have certain KPIs and you want to apply these icons. This comes very handy when you do a KPI reporting. Okay, we'll just quickly see an example of this after we are done with this. Now my scenario is if it is not equal to, say if it is greater than, 1500, I want to say green. Okay, if it is between 1200 and 800, then I want to apply is yellow. And if it is less than 1200, then it should be say red. Okay, now I have applied this conditional formatting on this cell. I want to apply it on all other cells. Okay, I'll just simply copy and I'll drag my formula and I'll say format paste. We do not have anything. Okay, and so last time someone asked me a very good question. What if there is an error in your calculation, and if you don't want to apply conditional formatting, or you want to apply that, you want to show that error in a different color. Okay, let's say I just created error here. Just give it zero. Now this is an error. You want to show color. I mean, apply conditional formatting to an error. There is an option available here. Okay, go to conditional formatting, manage rules, edit rule, format only cell that contains, and you can mention here error if you want to apply it to blank, and these options are available here. Okay, let's say I want to format my error as, okay, I'll apply this. Okay, a different color. Okay, so this is how you deal with. I mean, these are some data cleansing techniques, and then uh, that comes very handy when you do in KPI reporting or a trend reporting or some basic reportings that you do. Okay. Yeah, this is what it's a little okay. So what I yeah so all the topics that we are learning is basically, as I said, is to develop the mindset. So one we are going to cover this dashboard. Once we cover all the basic topics, so the objective is basically, where are the questions? So yeah, yeah, these are because I don't require this. Huh. So this training program, the objective of this is basically to, we should get well versed with creating dynamic dashboards, and then you should be able to independently, understand the requirement of your stakeholder. Let's say you are working with a stakeholder, and you have been asked to provide insights to the business and they have given you certain questions. Okay, let's say uh, segment wise sales distribution, then my top 10 cities, and then region wise trend. So in real world, when you do reporting, when you are into reporting profile, your interaction with business will be like this. You basically interact on what all requirement you have basically to in your dashboard, what all things you want to view in your dashboard, and they will give you certain questions that they want to answer through dashboard. you know so the entire objective of this training program is basically the mindset of reporting, so that you understand the requirement of your business and you're able to articulate that in your dashboard. Okay, let's and this is what we will see, how to create. And there are some very good techniques that we are going to learn, like how to make use of an form controls. And we are not using much of VBA here. These are all formula based uh, form controls we are going to see, and not very difficult to learn. It's very simple if you have a basic uh, dashboarding knowledge, and if you have certain basic or advanced skill set of Excel, it's easy to learn these techniques. Okay, there is a small amount of VBA we will see, just to, so if you see when I'm clicking on button, it is changing the color. So these are small workaround techniques that I have used, and I'm going to share with you all. Okay, okay. I'll close this for now. We'll continue our training program. Yeah. So let go back to less than 1200. Now I mentioned that you can use icons also. Okay, so when I select icon, so you'll see icon will appear based on uh, threshold that you assign, but you may need to make some changes. It is not giving an appropriate. Even if it is 1500, it is showing yellow, which is not correct. You know. Now to make it correct, what you need to do, you need to select your range and then go to manage rules and then edit rules. Okay. So my green I want when this I'll make change it to number, because we are not using percentage. It is greater than 500, 1500. Sorry, and There is one more option. You have to, you want to hide the numbers. Okay, you go here and if you just click on this show icon only, it will then only show the icons. It will hide the numbers for you. Okay, so we are going to use this. When we learn KPI reporting, we'll make use of these icons in most frequently when we do the actual KPI reporting. For now, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what how to use all these conditional formatting techniques. People are still. You have any question, Yashi? Right. Yeah. Or my screen seems to be stuck. Okay. Select your cells. Okay. Go to manage rule. Okay. Here you have an option to edit rule. Okay. And then there is an option here, show icon only. Okay. Once you click on that, it will your numbers will disappear. Only icon will be kept. Okay. Yeah. Uh, okay. So now self freezing concept. Oh, okay. Now this is self freezing is it's a very important concept to learn. I mean, I will show you what exactly I mean by self freezing. But it's when you create a dashboard and you want to drag the formulas on the right, on horizontally, vertically, it really becomes important to understand the self freezing, uh, so that do not have to do a lot of rework on writing the formulas. And I'll show you what I mean by this. Now, let's say this is an example. This is the data set. We have category A data, category B, category C, and on the column we have products. Okay, and the right hand side, what I want is I want these numbers in thousands. Okay, and we have 1,000 in L3. What I just need to do is simply divide this by 1,000. Now, okay, I'll keep one. Now, if I drag this below, you know, it is giving an error. Why it is giving an error? Because it is moving the cell. My 1,000 is in L3, which is constant. Okay, it is a constant cell. I do not want this to be dragged below. Okay, so what I will do is, now when we drag it like this, we saw it is not giving the correct value. For the first one, it is good, but for second one, see it is selecting uh, B4 divided by L4. I don't want that. I want B4 is right, but it should be L3. Okay, because my value is in L3. What I'll do, I'll just freeze this. Okay, I'll free. So the shortcut is F4. Okay, when you press F4 first time, it puts dollar sign on both row and column. Okay, so L is the column and 3 is the row. It is putting a dollar sign on both the side, on the column and row. Okay, that means it is freezing both column and row both. Okay. Now if I drag it, see it is correct. Okay, I want this to change. Okay, I want this to change. It should be, when I drag, it should be 4, it should be 5, but this should remain constant. Okay, now you see. So what happens if we freezes both? Okay, now you will see 3.6 in all the cells because it has freezed everything. Okay, but this is not correct. I want this to remain as it is, and just my denominator should freeze. Okay, some people are still trying to join. Okay, now let's say if I just freeze LP, Now, this is still correct, okay, because anyways I'm dragging downward, my column will remain same, that is, and it has freezed the row part, that is 3, okay, that is cell number 3. What if I drag rightward? Okay, I want, when I drag right, what I want is I want product to should be divided by 1000. Okay, it is not doing that because I have fixed only the row part. I have not fixed the the column part. Okay, and when I don't fix the column part, and when I move it to rightward, when I drag it to rightward, it will become L will become M. Okay, it will basically increment your column. Okay, now it is correct. Okay. So this has a significance. I mean, this dollar sign has significance, and it comes. This looks very small topic right now, but trust me, it gets very confusing when you deal with a large data. You have large columns on. You want to apply formulas. This becomes very tricky. And we'll see. Right now we just try to get understanding on that the significance of this. But we'll see. We'll have better examples to deal with this kind of you know situations. Okay. Right now, you just understand that there is a significant, there is a significance about putting a dollar sign, and in which scenario we put dollar sign on columns only, and in which scenario we put dollar sign only on rows. What I mean by row column is, row is this part and the column is this part. Okay, so L that you see is column and 3 is row. Okay, any questions here? This is not a very good example. I mean, we basically need to see all the multiple examples wherein we use only row or column, and we'll sure we'll have these examples as we move forward. When we work on the real data, we'll have more examples to learn this. Okay, but it's very important. When you get into a dashboarding techniques, it's very important to understand this self-raising compares. It's an easy one, but it sometimes gets tricky. Okay, okay. We'll move forward. We'll see. Okay, I'll remove this for now. Okay. Now, next thing I want to cover is some basic formulas. I know, like many of you are already well versed with the basic formulas, but we'll still cover. Let's say some formula, average formula, and then we have some more. I want. Yeah. So sum is basically just sum. Select the measure that you want to sum and just drag it. It gives you the sum. Let me change the. Say if you want to find the average sales, again a very simple one. Okay, you get to see the average. You want to find the count, select any, okay, count of your, you get to, and there is a count A. I mean, see, it did not work when I selected the string value. There is something called count A. Want to do a counting based on the string column. How it should work. Okay, this is count A. Now these are the basic. I don't want to go spend much time on this, but we are going to learn some complex. Let's say if you want to find sum only for specific month. Let's say if you have a scenario that you want to find uh, some average and count. How do we get, only, so what we did is we calculated sum from the entire data set. Okay, that was easy. It was just a simple sum formula. But now what we want sum for the specific months only. Okay, what we will do, use sum if. Select, so when you do sum if, it will ask you for three things. Okay, it will ask you for three things. That is, when you do sum if, it will ask you for range, criteria, and then sum range. Okay, my range will be uh, this one. Okay, my criteria will be the criteria on which I want to do the sum, and my sum range will be the actual measure value that I want to calculate. That is sales. Okay, okay, right. This is sum if. Okay, it which is basically it slices your data and provides the sum based on the criteria that you want. Okay. Similarly, we have an average if and the count if. Okay, we'll see that. Uh, we have an average if, again it's same, range, that is your entire month selection. Criteria is on the criteria you want to identify the average. Say I want to find the average sales for the month of November. So I'll select this criteria where I have November, and then my average range. Okay, I want average range of sales. Union. Similarly, count. There is a count if. It's super simple. Select the range and criteria. We'll get into some complex formulas. See, this is sum if. We also have some ifs. What if there are multiple criterias? Let's say, for example, for the month of November, but only for, say, supplies category or office supplies category. What if there are more than, two or three criterias? So we'll get into that. I have kept that in a advanced topics. So we will learn that once we, complete some of the basic topics. Okay. So right now, this is good. All right. Now let's get into, yeah, if function. Okay. So I'll create a very small, I mean, very simple example for if conditions. Okay. It's super important to understand. If you want to get you're comfortable with reporting analytics or MIS profile, it's very important to understand if condition is the most important formula, and it's not optional. You need to know if condition, nested if condition. you know it may go get very complex once you get into that role. Once you work on the real scenario, it becomes very imperative to get well versed with if and nested if conditions. So I'm going to start with a very basic example, but gradually when we move forward, we'll have some complex scenarios to learn if conditions. So right now, let's say there are three students. Okay, Ajay, Vijay, and then Rahul. Okay. And we have next SCINC. Shit. these are the three subjects. Okay, and I'll just quickly give an random value. Let's say between 25 to 95. Random between what can I say, 30. Random between is just to add and given a random values to your data set. So when I just use random between, it has randomly plotted the numbers. Okay, we're just creating a data set for our example. I'll just do a value paste. Okay, now currently it is it is an value, and you will see it keeps changing whenever do you make any changes in your data set. So I need to get rid of formulas. I'll select this and I'll do value paste. Okay, now you will not see uh, formulas here. Now what I want to know is a total and pass. Okay. Now find the total. It's a simple sum formula. Okay, I'll do sum of these three. I'll drag this formula. Okay. Now my criteria for pass fail is okay. Let's say if it is greater than 105. Let's say first scenario is like if the total is greater than 105, it should be pass, and if it is less than 105, then the student is considered fail. Okay, so I'll write an if condition equal to if total is greater than 105, then pass. Okay, you understand the parameters that we are passing. Okay, so when you start an if condition, it will it will ask you for three things. First is logical test. My logical test is G4 greater than 5. What I want to test whether my total is greater than 105 or not. Okay. So this is my logical test. What should be the value if your condition is true? So what should be the value if my total is greater than 105? What I want is it should appear pass. Okay. And the third condition it is asking, third parameter it is asking, what if the condition is false? Which means what if the total is less than 105? So I want it should display as fail. Okay. Now as per our condition, 31 is definitely greater than 105, so it has given pass. Yeah. So all are showing pass. But if you notice here, even though some better color, I will use okay, even though Vijay has scored 105, he has scored less than the required marks in a particular subject. Okay, max. To pass a subject, we need at least 35. Okay, so the condition that we have given is not giving the real picture. Okay, we need to make some adjustment in our formulas. Clear? Anyone has any question on this? Okay, all right. Now let's say how. Yeah, yeah. Acha, acha. See, what I'm trying to say is like the first condition that we used to check whether the student have passed or not is based on the total. Okay, so we what we did was uh, we used this criteria. If the total is greater than 105, then pass, else fail. Okay, but if you see this data set, Vijay has scored less than 35 marks in max, and in real scenario he has not actually passed uh, the overall examination. Even though he has scored 105, greater than 105 overall, but he has failed in one subject, which makes him fail for the entire semester. Okay, so this is what we want to do, and the current condition that we have mentioned is not basically giving the correct picture. we'll see how to you know get a correct formula here. What I'll do, I'll write an if condition. If I'll make use of an AND operator. Okay. Under if, I'm going to make use of an AND operator, and I'll explain what AND is. My under AND, what I want is I'll individually check all three subjects. Okay. My max is greater than 35. Logical 2, that is comma. My history is greater than 35, and science is greater than 35. Okay. So when I'm using and under that I'm giving three conditions, that is my each subject should be greater than 35, only then it should be pass. Okay. Now it will not check for the total, it will check individual subjects. Now moment I close the bracket, it has started the if condition again. Okay. When I started and it is still ask, and you can give n number of logics. Okay. Currently we just have three logics that we want to check, three criteria that we want to check. There's three subjects, but there is no end to it. There are multiple conditions you can give. Now moment I close my end, it will again start the if condition. Now this entire thing becomes my logical test, and I'll give pass, else else fail. Okay. So now this is correct. Okay. Now what it is checking for each subjects. Okay. It is just not, it is not just checking the total. It is checking, and the end condition is basically all conditions should be met. Okay. What happens if I use or operator? Okay. I've changed it to or operator. Now it is giving pass. So or means even if one condition is fulfilled, it will give pass. That means for each example, these two conditions are meeting, right? These two are, even if one condition is good, it will give pass. Okay. But for our scenario, the right operator that we need to use is and. Okay. Any questions here? Yeah. So I've taken a very simple example, but this will get way complex when we deal with the real scenarios. Okay. So we'll see that in a bit. But it's important. Like if condition is very important, and you will understand. As we gradually move forward, you'll understand why I'm saying stressing more on if condition. It's super important to get well versed with if conditions and nested if conditions. Now, okay, let's understand the pivot table. Okay. Quickly, I'm sure most of you already know pivot table, so I'll not spend much time on pivot table, but there are some important things I want to cover in pivot table, like slicers, multiple slicer to one, multiple pivot using one slicer. All those things I want to cover, so that we can cover right now. So I'll quickly create a pivot. Um you go to insert. So there are multiple ways to create a pivot. Go to insert, I click on pivot table. It is asking me for the table and range. I click on this. I'll select my data set. Okay. And let's say, so I've selected my data set. Now I'll create some basic. So this four is basically if you want to filter anything, you know based on some dimension, you can put it here. I'm sure many of you already know, but I'm just quickly stressing if someone is very new to the data world, for them it will be helpful. Okay, let's create a small pivot here. Let's say, okay, region wise, I want to see sales. Okay. So region I have put on the row shelf, that is it will show you downward. Okay, vertically. And then the measure that I'm seeing is basically I want to see the region wise sales. Okay. And what all thing I would cover? Okay, so this is one pivot, and you can basically slice and dice. Say if you want to under region, if you want to see country, you give it below. uh, you can add multiple fields in your row shelf, and then let's say column if you want to add. Okay, this is not good. Okay, quantity if you want to add sales and quantity here. Okay, so this you can play around. It is super simple topic, and I'll not spend much time on this. But let me show you what I exactly wanted to show. I'll just remove this here. Okay, so this is my one pivot. Okay, I have one more pivot, that is I'll create one more pivot here. Now this is my, let's say, region category wise sales. See, you can always give the insights to the business in tabular format. We don't really need, you know, this fancy dashboard always. But then my experience says that it's really important to show your work in a, in a better way, in a visual way. Basically, it creates a wow effect. You can always see whatever we are showing here, segment wise distribution. We can always show in a pivot format. But then, it will not be appreciated very well. I mean, this is my experience. And if you create something like this, dashboards where you have, this is something you are showing that you have some unique skills. Okay, you are differentiating yourself from your colleagues. Okay, that you have learned something new, and you know how to basically present your data in a different way. Hence it becomes very important to develop all these skills. Otherwise, if you just want to show information to the business, there are easy way. You can create charts using your pivot. There are options to create charts using pivots and everything, it's there. Okay, you can always use that. But if you really want to create some, what do you say, uh, you want to stand out from your the entire team, you want to you know create some differentiate skill set, it's really important to develop this kind of dashboards, a dynamic dashboard. Well, people will think, wow, this is really good and something really, and will gain interest on. Okay, plus it visually it always provides, a better insights. They really don't have to stress too much on the numbers. In just one view they get to see which particular segment is performing well. How is my business trend. Okay, so I'll close this for now. Okay, now the scenario, I have created two pivots. Okay, now I want to create a slicer. Okay, so there is an option called, if you go to this pivot table analyze, this option comes only when you click on pivot. Otherwise you will not see that option. Okay, say when you put your cursor on your pivot, you go to this pivot analyze, there is an option called insert slicer. Okay, now let's say state ka slicer I want. Okay, so when I click on this, currently you will see, I've created slicer from this pivot. It is slicing only this pivot. It is not slicing this particular pivot. If I want to see statewide information, I click on my states. Now how do we get this slicer to work for all the pivot in my report, which is coming from the same data source? Okay, it is imperative that your all the pivot should come from the same data set. Only then you will be able to use one slicer on multiple pivots. Now to do that, click on your slicer. There is an option called report connection. Okay, if you see, it is currently, by default it is selecting only the one through which you created a slicer. So I created slicer using my pivot one, hence it is selected. Now when I select this and click OK, Now if you try to slice the data, see if it is changing both the, okay, both the pivot. Yeah, but the fun prerequisite is like all the pivots that you want to slice using a common slicer has to come from the same data source. Okay, and then you can have multiple slicers here. So let's say I create more slicers, uh, category, subcategory. Okay. The report connection one, and linking one. Acha, I'll delete this one. Okay. I'll repeat from the beginning. Okay, so if we want to add a slicer, basically to slice and dice your data. Okay, what you need to do is put your cursor on your pivot. There is an Go to the pivot analyzer. There is an option called insert slicer. Okay. When I click on this, it will give you the entire list of your measures and dimensions in your data set. I want to slice this by state. I click on state. I'll select the multiple. I also want a subcategory. I also want say segment. Okay, so I have these three slicers now. Okay, let me just select this. Huh. Now when you see, I've created this slicer, it is slicing your first pivot because I've created slicer using this pivot. Okay, and if you notice, this particular pivot is not changing at all. When I click on this, let's say if I click on state, okay, it is slicing and dicing your first pivot, but however it is not impacting your second pivot. Now if you want to link your slicer with all the pivots that you have in your, uh, provided it should come from the same source, right click on your pivot slicer, report connection. Okay, by default it is selecting from the one you created your slicer. You check mark the other one and click OK. Okay, now if you see, it is linked to all the pivots. Okay, same thing you need to do for this. I'll do report connection, I'll do this. Okay, report connection. Okay, now all three slicer are filtering your both the pivot. Okay, any questions here? All right. Okay. Okay, now let me see. Yesterday formula we have lookup formula. Okay, okay, let me create a, okay, using if condition. Just bear with me for a few minutes. I'll create an example and then I'll quickly walk you through what I want to do. Just create just the last 3 months. Okay, now I'm going to cover one dashboard technique for today. Okay, I will keep some complex topics for our next session. Like nested if we'll see in very deep. I consider this topic as very important because uh, are super important topic when you get into the real reporting world. You have to basically convert your reporting requirement into dashboards. You need to know these concepts, okay? Nested ifs, lookup formulas, complex formulas, but I'll keep it for the next session. But I want to cover one dashboard concept today, so that you basically get a glimpse of what we are going to do. Okay, now let me create a scenario. Someone mute. Hurry. I'll just move. You have any question? Do you have any question, Hari? So you can always unmute if you have any questions. You can always unmute if you have any questions. You can ask me. Raising hand may not do because I may not switch back to the screen frequently. So I mean it would be best if you can just interrupt and ask question. That is fine with me. Now I'm just creating a small data set. Okay. Let, okay. Now the let's take, if you want to create a small visualization. Okay. Based on your, this is my category. Okay. Say suppose if we are working in a reporting profile and your client or your stakeholder has asked you for an category wise sales for last 3 months. Okay, one way we'll be creating a small pivot and give it to your stakeholder. He will be happy, that is good. But if you want to show some dynamic way, if you want to show it through some dynamic way and create a wow effect, you know, uh, you can always do that, and I'll show you how to do that. 1 minute, let me just, I am actually trying to do this without VLOOKUP, hence it is little. Display. Okay, I will use VLOOKUP right now, but it's okay if you do not understand VLOOKUP right now. We'll cover that in detail. But I quickly wanted to show you one technique of creating dynamic dashboard today, so that it keeps you interesting. Okay, keep you, engaged in the session. So right now, if I'm going to use VLOOKUP formula, but it's okay if you do not understand right now. It's good that you understand what I'm doing, but we'll look into some multiple scenarios of VLOOKUP, batch lookup in our next session. Okay, we just have 10-15 minutes more, so we'll take say around 1:10, 2:10 we should wind up our session. But I before that I'll just quickly cover one small topic. Okay, let's say, yeah, your requirement is basically want to, your stakeholder is asked for an category wise performance. Okay, segment wise and category wise performance. Okay, and you have these three drop downs. These drop downs. Okay, uh, segment wise sales they want to see, segments and category wise for last 3 months. Okay, I'm making up a scenario, so I'm thinking out loud. So bear with me for a few minutes. So this is my. So these are the three values that I want in my drop down. Okay, and drop down by me. What I mean by drop down is form controls. Okay, so we have this form controls available in developer tab. In some cases, this tab will not be visible, but you can get it by when you right click, you do customize ribbon, and here somewhere you can see this developer tab here. Okay, just check mark and it will appear in your Excel. Now first I'll get this in my uh, I'll get it drop down. So go to insert and you see these form controls here. These are ActiveX controls and form controls. We will not touch ActiveX controls because these are basically for coding purpose. You know, we'll make use of form controls. And what I need right now is drop down. So this is a combo box. Okay. So we have various options. I'm taking I know a name. Okay, combo box. So click on this and just design it in your on your Excel sheet, and it's super easy. I'll just right click, I use form control, and it will ask me for an input range. It is similar, very similar to the data validation topic that we, and hence I wanted to cover the data validation and the dependent data validation because it is related. Okay, it is asking for an input range. My input range will be this. Okay, okay. Now you see that all three options are appearing in my drop down. Okay, there is one more thing it is asking, that is cell link. I should link this link particular cell with my form control. Let's say if I give this m, I will highlight this cell. Now this cell link is like whatever position that you select. Let's say select your first position, this will change to 1. Okay, this will change to 1. When I select the second position, it will change to 2, and when I select the third position, it will change to 3. Okay, sorry, month and okay, let's keep it simple for now. Okay, what I want is based on my drop down selection, I should see the sales of these categories. Okay, uh, categories under, there are constant categories we have. So I'm just creating. When I do transpose, it will paste horizontally, and horizontal value you transpose, it will paste vertically. Okay, you select, you do paste value, and then there is an option called transpose. Okay, and when I do this, it basically, so currently I'm just value and transpose. See, okay. Now what I want is based on my drop down selection. Okay, it should give me values. It should give me values for the respective uh, category for that particular segment. I'll keep it here. Now this is the cell link which is basically changing based on my selection here. So when I select consumer, it is giving me 1. When I'm selecting corporate, it is giving me 2, and when I'm selecting home office, it is giving me 3. Okay, I will write a small VLOOKUP formula. Small VLOOKUP formula. Value is the cell link. My table array is this. I wrote this VLOOKUP formula because I just don't want the number of the position. I also want the value of the position. Let's say if I select corporate, I want corporate to appear here. Let's say if I select consumer, I want consumer to appear here. Okay. Getting little, I mean, tricky, but okay. So right now, I just won't focus on the formulas. We'll definitely cover that, but I just wanted to show you some good techniques. Field setting. Now, uh, this is my dynamic cell that is changing based on my drop down. Okay, when I'm changing this to home office, it is getting appeared in my M4 cell. Okay, because I have wrote a small VLOOKUP formula, and then what I have I've given a reference to this uh, here. Okay, and I'll do a simple concatenate between two cells, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this. So for a I am going to use a VLOOKUP formula, okay, to get my sales value from the pivot. Okay, and there are easy way also which we'll cover. There is a formula called get pivot which makes our job really easy, but right now I'm using VLOOKUP because I want to get, you know, before we get into get pivot, we need to get well versed with VLOOKUP and nested if conditions, hence I'm not using an easy way. Okay, I'm creating an same key here. So but for VLOOKUP we need a key, you know, we need a unique value. Now I'll write a VLOOKUP formula. Okay, this is my lookup value. Okay, 10. Yeah, I'll as I said, I'll explain VLOOKUP formula in detail. So right now, just 4. So what I have done is, you know, so currently, based on my selection, it will give me the sales. Okay, and if I just put this in a chart, go to insert, and I'll put this in a say bar chart. Okay, so we have answered the question. Okay, what I want, this is my segment. Okay, I want segment wise and category wise my sales. So when I'm selecting consumer, it is giving me consumer ka sales, and when I'm selecting home office, it is giving me home office ka sales. Okay. So these are the different techniques to create a dynamic dashboard. Okay? You can always use a simpler way of creating pivots. You're using pivots charts. There are options available, but there are some workarounds you need to do. You need to learn to create some dynamic dashboards, so which will basically look and feel is good. It is uh, helping, it is basically giving an impression that you have a differentiate skill set. Okay, so and we'll see, we basically there are a lot of other techniques that I want to cover. I'll quickly open this. Yeah, so we are going to see, this is what we did right now. Okay, but we can add more dynamic feature into it, like say if I want to see sales and profit separately using a radio button. So we'll learn all those things, okay, in our next session. Okay. uh, Anyone has any question? Yeah. Hmm. Right. Right. Okay. So what we did is, we created this key. Okay. And key is simply a combination of both the cell. Okay. N and O. Okay. It's a concatenation of N and O. It is giving me both the values in a one cell. Okay. Now this similar key I have created in my pivot. Okay. Similar key so that I can do a VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP karunga, so it will basically check for this and will give me the sales based on my selection. So when I'm doing a VLOOKUP, it is giving me जो भी यहाँ पे वैल्यू है की है, it is giving me sales for that. Okay, and now because my this key is dynamic, it is basically dependent on the drop down. तो जो भी ड्रॉप डाउन मैं सिलेक्ट कर रहा हूँ, इट इज गिविंग मी फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर सिलेक्शन. So currently it is home office furniture, but the moment I change it, it becomes consumer, and now it is giving it, this key is consumer furniture, and it is fetching the value from pivot for consumer furniture, and it is giving me sales, right? And this is how I have linked. Okay, all I need to do is basically create a chart using your dynamic cells. So this VLOOKUP is from the dynamic, is coming from the dynamic cells. Does that answer your question? Only n is linked. N is in hard coded values furniture, because in our data category there are fixed three categories. We do not need to basically link it. Okay. So N is dynamic. It is coming from M. Whatever drop down you select, it will appear here. Say if you select home office, it will show home office. If you select consumer, it will show consumer. Okay. And now because I'm using my dynamic key for my VLOOKUP, this cells becomes dynamic. This cell becomes dynamic. Okay. Then when I create a chart, it will appear that chart is changing, but in reality it is bringing the value here. And then because our chart is created using this value, your chart will also be a dynamic. Okay. So this is very simple technique. We have a lot of good techniques to learn on this. I have the dashboard open. So you see that on top 10 view, you are only seeing the top 10 cities here. But if you there is a scroll bar which basically make it appears that your chart is scrolling, but in reality it is changing the values using the VLOOKUP. Okay, so these are the cool techniques that we are going to learn, and the entire objective of this training program is to learn dashboard techniques. Okay. So we'll take some real business questions, using the data that we have, uh, and then try to solve that business problem through dashboard techniques. Okay. So this is all I wanted to cover today. In our next session, we will start with some more advanced topic. We will see nested if conditions on the real scenario. Okay, and then we will learn VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP in detail. Okay, and finally we'll start with this dashboard techniques. But by the time we get into the dashboard techniques, it is very important that you get comfortable with if, nested if, and VLOOKUP condition. Otherwise you will struggle. It will be really challenging to learn dashboard techniques if you the basics are not clear. And all I expect is, after the session you spend 1 hour, to basically go through this again. Maybe you can use a recording. I'll be sharing the recording by tomorrow. You can go through the recording. You can practice it so that it gets registered in your mind. Any more questions on the program, on what we learned today? Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah. So I have shared yeah, I can share this file with you all, but I want to collect the email IDs in one place. So I have shared a Google form ka link. I'll share it again today. So please provide your email IDs so that I can collate and I can share this file with everyone in one go. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. No, no, no. It's okay. If you have already submitted your details, it should be good. But I'll give 2 more days, for other people to give the details so that I can share this file with everyone in one go. Okay. So there is an. Let me open the WhatsApp batch three. Yeah. So this is the form. So those who are not submitted this form, just share these details. Okay, and then we can. Then, then I'll collect all the email IDs and share this today's training file to everyone. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you very much. Bye.